If you ask the questions, he'll give you the answers. Most women never ask the questions, and so they never get the truth from a guy.
If you can go away and be strong on your own, when you come back, you can be a better leader for him as well.
If you don't care about a guy, you're far more likely to jump into bed with him than a guy you really like, and you go, oh, well, no, I didn't want to ruin it with you.
I am really puzzled by modern day commitment. It seems that people have a really hard time committing these days. There's always something better out there, and I'm sure social media has a lot to do with it. People comparing their lives to others. I know in LA where I live, there's a lot of men have Peter Pan syndrome and they don't want to grow up. But it makes me weary to get into a relationship because I feel like, people are always kind of worried about maybe there's something better out there, and commitment just doesn't seem to be as honored as it used to be, and it's causing me some fear into getting into relationships. And I think I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, how I can maybe work through some of that and be more trusting.
Yeah, that's a great two-part question. I mean, firstly, I think in general people are worse at committing to anything these days. I think people are worse at committing to careers. I think they're worse at committing to a life path. I think they're worse at committing to marriage. I think we have shorter attention spans, and we have I think a certain level of entitlement these days that makes us feel like we're entitled to a job that is amazing and exciting the whole time, and as soon as it's not, we feel like we need to quit and move on to something else. I think we feel like we're entitled to a relationship that isn't any work, that's supposed to be easy, and then as soon as it's not, we start looking for the next thing. And not to mention, if you live in a place like LA, and people in London or New York or many major cities will all relate to this, you do face a lot of people with a lot of different options, and everything is, in a city like this, it's everything all the time. It's everything always. You can have whatever you want any time of day. You can go out every night of the week. There are always new people. There's an endless stream of them. There's always something else going on, and that makes it somewhat difficult. Now, what we have to understand is that there are different experiences of life. There's the experience, for example, of going out and sleeping with multiple people and having a kind of roster of people on the go that you enjoy, and you're just seeing where that takes you, and you have all the variety that comes with that. Then you have the experience, which is being with one person and sharing your day with them and finding out how they are when they get home and telling them how you are when you get home. And, you go and do something with that person, and you can really relate to them because you know them. You share your news with them, and you want to share your news because they know how hard you worked for that promotion that you're now excited about, unlike the person you met last week who doesn't care. It's a different experience. People grow, and as they mature, or hopefully mature, not every guy does, but as they mature, they start to have they value experiences differently. Some people go through their lives and they begin to truly value that sense of real meaning and connection that comes with being with one person. Other people, by the way, never get to that stage. I truly believe that that's the minority. I think that most people actually get to a point where they want more meaning in their lives.
That's very good to hear, because that's kind of what I was wondering is, how as things have changed, and I think of my parents in the 60s or whatever, it was such a natural thing to commit to somebody, and that's what you did. And now it seems more unnatural to do that because, divorce is prevalent and things. But I think, like you're saying, inherently maybe in humans, people ultimately do want a quality experience. And so it's like a maturity thing then.
It is. And here's where the results get skewed, because I think that most guys will get to a point where they want more meaning, with the minority never wanting more meaning or having some sort of problem internally that stops them from accessing that part of themselves. Here's where the results get skewed. Many guys, because of this sense of entitlement where we think, God, before I get to a certain age, I have to have played around enough. I have to have traveled enough. I've had to have had a ton of adventure. I need to have made a certain amount of money. I need to be in a certain place in my status, in my career. They have all of these things that they feel like they need to check off before they meet the woman that they're going to spend their life with and settle down. Here's the problem. Despite this sense of entitlement, many of them never achieve all of those things by the time they meet that woman.
Right.
So all of a sudden they're meeting this amazing woman and they think, God, I could marry this woman. I could spend my life with this woman. If only I'd been to all those countries I already wanted to go to. If only I feel like I played around enough, had enough adventure. If only I'd already made that money that I said I'd make. I said I'd be a millionaire by 30. I'm not. I need to keep going with that. They have all of these things that they feel like they haven't done yet when they meet that person. And all of a sudden, they find themselves sabotaging a relationship, not because the relationship's wrong, but because they feel like they haven't arrived at that place in their life just yet.
That is so profound and is, I think, so true.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very, very tough.
Yeah.
So
it's tough.
Here's the key. The key isn't about trusting more. I think the idea of trust is actually misguided in many cases. The onus isn't on you to just trust people blindly. That's dumb.
Right.
That's what ends up with you being murdered in a dark alley somewhere. It's just, I just trust everyone, right? You don't just trust people. What you do is you allow people to earn your trust, and you give them the chance in the first place. That's all it is. I'm going to allow you to put in that 5% of amount of effort that allows you to get 5% of my trust, then 10% and 15% and so on. That's how any relationship is built. You don't start with the trust, you build the trust. So any guy that's going to be worthy of you has to show that he's worthy of you by the investment that he puts in and by showing you that he's actually interested in the same things that you're interested in terms of a relationship. That's going to be built over time. The easiest thing you can do for yourself is to look for guys in the right stage of their lives instead of trying to convert guys in the wrong stage of their lives.
So true.
If you want to find a guy in the right stage of his life, or you want to find out if a guy is in the right stage of his life, simply ask him the right questions. When you're early on, ask him, are you interested in a relationship at this stage in your life? Or do you feel like you still have more that you want to get out of your system? If you talk about his past relationship, why did you break up with that person? That'll tell you a lot, by the way. Does he talk about it being, he's the reason that they broke up because he wasn't ready for a relationship? Or is it because of something that she was doing and therefore he just hadn't found the right person? If you ask the questions, he'll give you the answers. Most women never ask the questions, and so they never get the truth from a guy because they don't want to hear it.
True. That's so true.
So just go and be smart about it. You're going to be fine because you're clearly an intelligent person. You clearly want the result, and you're clearly measured. You're not biased. You just want to find someone great. So keep going out there. Keep your chin up, and when you talk to guys, measure them based on their investment, not based on what you want them to be. I'm going to give you this scenario, and I know you've probably been there before. You can play it out in the worst possible way. It starts like this. One person brings up that they have this friend. If it's a woman early on in the relationship, she'll be like, oh yeah, one of my guy friends, blah, blah, blah. And one of the immediate things that goes through his head is, well, who is this guy friend? And have you hooked up? Now, this happens the other way too, of course. He'll get a message, it's from Jane, and you go, so who is Jane? Is she someone that you've slept with before, or what's going on? Is she just a friend? Have you always just been friends? We have this sort of initial insecurity and territorial nature that immediately makes us question the opposite sex. Now, this would be ridiculous if we weren't right a lot of the time. Because, of course, a lot of the time we are right. We question someone. We go, well, have you ever been with that person? And we'll find out, oh, maybe there was a little bit of history there. Now, ladies, I'm going to be speaking to you in this episode because it's a guy problem, I think, even more than a woman's problem, that guys get overtly territorial in this sense. You can have, for example, a woman who says, and this actually came up recently with a friend of mine. She said to me, oh, this guy that I'm dating and I really like, he got really frustrated because I ended up telling a story and indirectly it referenced a guy that I knew a few months ago. And I said, it's this friend of mine. And he said, well, have you hooked up with him? And she said, yes. Now, she said, I was just being honest and I don't like lying. So I just said yes. But ever since then, he's had this massive problem with it. So much so that, by the way, this guy is from Chicago. He now has an issue with Chicago. Like, when that happens, and you could be sitting here listening to this episode and thinking that's absurd, but I know you've done this. I know that you've had someone that you're jealous of that your partner has slept with or done something with, and they're in another city, and you develop this irrational hatred for that city or that place. It could even be a restaurant. It could be a part of town. It could be, in some cases, it's a country. Like you've dated someone from a country, and then you just completely fell out of bed with that country afterwards. You said, that's it. I'm never going there again. Screw Argentina. Now, how do you get around this situation? Because it's tricky. You don't want to get into the territory of always lying to your partner and saying, no, nothing happened there. I have a few tips for this. Firstly, I want to help you understand the male psychology here, because it's easy to berate the opposite sex for the things that they do, their bad habits. This is one of man's, and I mean literally man's, bad habits, is that we get overly territorial and we develop this kind of double standard towards women. You know, oh, it would be okay for me to have hooked up in the past, but you hooking up, no, I don't like that, right? Men develop this double standard towards women. That's not okay. However, understanding where it comes from is very important before you deal with it. One of the problems for this is men's unhealthy attachment to women seeming pure and innocent and never having been with anybody, at the same time, by the way, as wanting her to be wildly experienced and amazing in the bedroom. Catch 22 there, but guys do go through this all of the time. The second problem guys have is, and this, by the way, ladies, you contribute towards this one a little bit. This is an interesting one. If he's been courting you for the last 3 weeks because he likes you and you like him, and he's been taking you on dates and great dinners and these romantic scenarios, and he's just now getting to the point of sleeping with you, and then he hears that you hooked up with some guy 6 months ago on a one-night stand, or someone you'd barely seen, and he was just sleeping with you willy-nilly, so to speak, without having to do anything, none of the fine dining. A guy thinks, screw this. What? So hang on, you're with me right now, and it took me 3 weeks to get to this point with you, and then some guy you don't even care about was able to get this from you in 1 week without even trying. How is that okay? He imagines him bragging to his friends about how he slept with you and you're just this person he sleeps with whenever he wants. And here he is spending money on dinners, taking you out, trying to turn you into his girlfriend and having a harder time than the dickhead who didn't have to do anything. So that annoys a guy. It frustrates a guy. Now, women, I know where you're coming from. This is the backwards logic. Why? No, the reason I made you wait is because I like you. Right? How mental is that? But it's the truth. If you don't care about a guy, you're far more likely to jump into bed with him than a guy you really like. And you go, oh, well, no, I didn't want to ruin it with you, so I made you wait. That, by the way, although I understand it, is not logic that a guy can understand. He just thinks he's insignificant, that he's not as special as the last guy. So when this issue comes up, understand that it both comes from a pig-headed place and a wildly insecure place at the same time. And you have to deal with that with a certain level of sensitivity. Now, the first thing is, do not use his language. The mistake my friend made is when he said, did you hook up with him? She said, yes. In other words, all he now hears is, I hooked up with him. Use your own language instead. For example, you say, look, it wasn't hooking up. We saw each other for a little while. We saw each other for a couple of months. Okay. Now, they may be the same thing, but you're using your language instead of his. A guy will always use the most self-harming language he can, because he's trying to be, especially when he's trying to paint a picture about you, he uses coarse language to describe it. But if you reiterate that language or you just affirm it, it's like you're the one saying it. Guys will lead you into that trap. So instead, soften the language in your own way. Put it in your terms. Second, when you talk about it, be bored of it. Don't say, oh, this guy, look, he was an idiot. I can't stand him. Do not start dissing the guy from the past or talking badly about him. All it shows is how much you care, how much that guy was able to hurt you and still is in your head right now. Be bored about it. Be like, look, yeah, we saw each other for a little bit. It's so done. I'm so over it. And truthfully, I don't even want to be talking about it. It bores me. Be bored. That's the best reaction you can have to guys from your past, is not to be angry, not to be overly sentimental, just to be bored of it. Because for a guy in your present, that's something that isn't intimidating to him, is your boredom. But your anger, as soon as he hears your anger, he thinks, oh God, she really liked this guy. So be bored of it, use your own language, and be a little sensitive. In other words, you can say to him, look, truthfully, I'm with you now. And I care a ton about you, and you're my only interest. And I don't care about anyone I've been with in the past. That's not my interest right now. That's boring to me. You're interesting to me because you're who's in my life right now. And I want to put all of my attention on you. So be sensitive with it. Guide it in the direction you want to go. And don't feel like it doesn't have to get your back up just because he deals with it badly. And always remember, kindness goes a long way. Always remember when the situation is reversed, you want his sensitivity as well. If you're insecure, if you're jealous, if you're going through something, you also want his kindness as well. So be kind. Men, by the way, quick note, if you're listening, stop slut shaming. You know who you are. We do it all the time. We date women. We get annoyed with stuff that they do, that we do the exact same thing. And it's because we're territorial and we're insecure and we have a hard time imagining it. I get it. I've been through the exact same thing, but we got to get over it. Because if we want someone who's the type of person we actually want, someone who's lived, someone who's, up for adventure, someone who's exciting and interesting and has lived a little, guess what? Those people come with a past. They're not a clean slate.
What are 4 of the primary traits that men are really looking for in a woman? Now, obviously, this is subjective. Obviously, not every man follows these 4 as their top 4, but I think this is a pretty good stab at it. Number 1, playfulness. Playfulness is one of the most attractive traits because life is hard enough without being with someone who is serious all the time. Someone who can be a bit light and fun and, dare I say, goofy is somebody that makes the world a little more pleasant to be in. So we look for that in our partner. That could be somebody who, when a great song comes on, they start dancing in a funny way or in a silly way or in just a cute way. It could be somebody who, when they look at you in that moment, they say, if you don't kiss me right now, I'm gonna die. The second one is sexiness. Sexy is not somebody who has to be overtly sexual. It's somebody who shows their sexual side. You can show your sexual side in a number of ways. You can show it by moving in a sexy way. You can do it by showing somebody that you desire them. That shows you have a sexual side. When you think somebody is hot, when someone's doing something that's sexy, that shows your sexy side. It can be by a look that you give somebody. You could give a guy a little cheeky look across the table that says, I'm undressing you right now with my eyes, and you don't even know it, and now he picks up on something, but you don't actually have to say that that's what you're doing. When he says, what? You can go, what? I was just looking at you. And in that moment, there's some tension. Or you can interpret a look he gives you, and when he looks at you a certain way, if it's sort of manly and strong and there's something seductive about it, you could look at him and be like, you can't look at me like that. Not in public. Don't do that. That's bad. And then look away, turn away, get him out of your sight because it's too much for you. Just in that moment, he feels that sexual tension and he sees that you have a sexual side. Number 3, nurturing. The person who makes you feel both loved and looked after. That's the person who, when they see you yawn, doesn't like slap you on the arm and say, wake up, it's still early. It's the person who, when you yawn, says, long day, babe. Let me, come here, give me a cuddle. Let me, come nestle under my arm right here. It's like that person who's just sort of nice and warm and has that loving energy. Everyone wants to be looked after a little bit, don't they? It just makes the world seem like a better place. Like life is just one big giant hug. Now, number 4 is kind of counterintuitive. Independence. A lot of men, when asked if they were being honest, might say they wouldn't want their woman to have too much independence because it scares us. When you're independent, we get a bit insecure because we feel like you're not going to need us anymore. But the reality is, when you are independent, when you have your own life, your own hobbies, things you enjoy doing, things you enjoy learning about, and you have your own strength of mind independent of him, that's what keeps him attracted. That's what keeps his desire level high. It's also, by the way, what makes him feel like he has a great teammate. Because if you can go away and be strong on your own, when you come back, you can be a better leader for him as well. Because when he's in self-doubt mode, when he's worried about something, when he feels like he's questioning himself or he's fearful, in that moment when you're strong, you can be like, I believe in you, babe. I know you can do this. Everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna help make sure of it. You can be a strong teammate when you are independent. But when you're not independent and all of your worth is tied to him or linked to his state of mind, then you can't lead when he needs someone to be strong, when he needs a rock. Now, this may sound intimidating, but you don't need to be all of these 4 traits at the same time. The key is to be the right amount of it at the appropriate time. And if somebody sees that over the course of a day or a week, you can be all of these different parts of you, they see a multifaceted human being that they never want to let go of.
I really want you to watch this next video. I think it's going to make a big difference in your life. Click the link here. Now, I know the temptation when a date is going well is to drag it out as long as possible because you're enjoying being with that person. But that's not always productive. Think of the best concert you've ever been to. It ended on a high, and we want our dates to do the same. Make your reaction to things something somebody wants to experience.
I don't think your power is in having sex with a man. Your power is in what you do afterwards.
Having standards is confidence. Knowing how to communicate them is competence. Manage your energy because you don't have unlimited energy. The first 2 weeks of attraction are really, really important because if we don't make a great impression there, no one cares how great we're going to be in week 4 or month 6. So here are 4 things you can do to hook somebody in the first 2 weeks. Number 1. Have a real dates only policy. It is quite common these days, as you know, for a guy to attempt the Netflix and chill date before he's earned it. So when a guy says to you, hey, do you want to come over later tonight? We can order in and snuggle. What I want you to send him is, as much as I like a snuggle, I prefer to get out into the world with someone first. Keeps it interesting. Number 2, buy the popcorn. Look, I don't know if you think it's a guy's job to pay for the date or not, but even if you do, there is an awful mistake that so many people make that relates to what I talk about here. Let me tell you what means something to a guy. Trying. That means something to a guy. When he feels that you're not even trying to contribute, that's when he feels used. Because any guy who's really confident and self-respecting, if the woman never is even trying to contribute, he feels like he's being taken advantage of. And it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with the lack of gesture. Gestures matter. It doesn't matter if he bought the movie and dinner that night, you just getting the popcorn or whatever the equivalent is on the date you're on says to him, firstly, I don't take you for granted. And secondly, I'm sending you a subtle message that I am a team player. Number 3, get excited about the little things. Being cool isn't about indifference. It's not about showing up with a been there, done that attitude. I've done it all before. Nothing impresses me. Cool is passion. Cool is getting excited. And about the little stuff, it doesn't even have to be the big stuff. It could be the place that he took you to. It could be the meal that you're eating and there's something on the menu you're really excited about. It could just be a great cup of coffee. Whatever it is, getting excited about it sends a message to the person you're with. I am a fun person to do life with. I know that anytime I've been with somebody who gets excited about things, I start thinking of the long list of things that I want to do with them next because I can't wait to experience their reaction to it. Make your reaction to things something somebody wants to experience. Number 4, be a grown-up and pick up the phone. So annoying waiting for people to text back. I wish someone would invent an app that actually allowed you to speak in real time. Oh wait, Alexander Graham Bell already did. Now I know that already people are probably seething hearing this message because you're saying, the problem is with men. They're the ones who don't pick up the phone anymore. They're the ones who always text, who don't bother with the old school ways of talking. To this I say to you, lead by example. I'm not saying you're the one who should call the guy all the time, but what I am saying is,
The first call you make to a guy sets a precedent. It sets a standard. It lets him know that you are an adult. And if he wants to date you, he's going to have an adult relationship with you. So when you want to invite him to something, let's say you've been on 2 dates and on the 3rd date you want to invite him to something, pick up the phone and invite him. Let's say that you're on your way home from work and you're walking and you have 5 minutes to spare. Pick up the phone and say hi to him. That moment where you speak to him on the phone tells him the standard you expect from him in return. And it also gives him a license to call you, because many guys don't even know that they can or they should. When you call him, it tells him it's also okay for you to call me. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 specific text messages that get the guy you want to pursue you. I've been helping women attract the men they want for nearly 10 years now. And there is a question that has always come up, but it's getting worse. Women saying, why don't men try anymore? They don't take me on real dates. They don't seem to actually court me. They don't go through the stages of attraction where they really invest. It's like they want a fast food dating diet. They want to just text me and for me to come over. We want men to try again. Well, I have a fundamental belief that the women today who get the best men, and not just the best men, but the best behavior from those men, have 2 things on their side. 1, they have standards that are higher than everybody else. People think that if you have standards, you're going to scare people off. It's the opposite. Standards make you attractive. But they don't just have standards. They have the ability to communicate those standards to a man in an attractive way. That's the real skill. Having standards is confidence. Knowing how to communicate them is competence. The food industry has a term called the bliss point. The bliss point is the optimal level of salty and sweet in a food that keeps you wanting more of it. And they're trying to achieve this all the time. So think Nutella, think peanut butter, kettle corn. What's the bliss point? That means even though you're getting full, you're not satiated. You keep wanting more of that food. Well, I believe that there is a bliss point to communication, an optimal level of salty and sweet that keeps you wanting more of a person. So if you achieve the bliss point in your communication with men, a man can become addicted to you. He won't be able to put you down. I'm about to give you 3 scenarios that I know you've found yourself in before, and the bliss point response to each one. The first scenario is the date deliberator text. This is the guy who's indecisive about what you guys are going to do on a date tonight. So he sends something like, "So what are we doing tonight?" To which your internal response is, "You decide, man. It's your job to figure out a plan. Just frickin' pick something." But you don't want to come across aggressive in this moment because he hasn't done anything really wrong. So instead, here's the bliss point response. "As much as I love planning, I think it would be more fun if you decide." Winky face. You see what you're doing there? You're simultaneously saying, I don't expect you to plan things forever, but right now, at this early stage, it would be fun if you took the initiative. Scenario 2, the homebody text. He sends, "There's a cool bar in my part of town for tonight." Now you know that the last time you went on a date, you came to his part of town. So somewhere inside you feel like he should be the one making the effort to come to you or at least meet halfway. Now once again, he hasn't done anything drastically wrong, but you'd like to use this moment to educate him on trying a little harder. So instead of bottling up your feelings and going to his part of town anyway, or getting overly serious about communicating this to him, you put together this bliss point message. "Geez, are you always this lazy? It's your turn to come to me." Kissy face. What this shows is that you can call someone out directly for their behavior, but you can do it in a playful and affectionate way. Which brings us to scenario number 3, the day of disappearance. This is when you have plans with a guy to see him for a date, but on the day of the date, it's getting past the point where it's acceptable for him to have not given you the details yet. So maybe it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you said you'd see each other tonight, and he still hasn't sent you anything. And maybe it's not because he's a bad guy, maybe it's because he's been super busy, or maybe he's out right now, but it's still not really okay. So you can either be passive and just wait until he texts you, or you can construct this bliss point message. Hey you, should I assume we're not on for tonight? I haven't heard from you and I have other things I'd like to do if not. Once again, the beauty of this is that it addresses him in a kind way at the same time as being really high standards with your time. You're showing him that if he doesn't up his communication, you're going to find something else to do. Now, why do people hesitate? Actually the same thing.
So, you had sex with him. Now, many people think that once a man has sex with a woman, she gives up her power and he begins to lose interest. But I don't think your power is in having sex with a man. Your power is in what you do afterwards. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through 3 things that not only allow you to maintain your power, but actually make him want you more after the fact. Number 1,
Don't be weird. Many people, after waking up, having slept with someone, an intimate act, then all of a sudden start behaving really awkwardly, like the few hours of sleep in between drove this giant wedge between them, and now instead of being warm and affectionate, they're kind of cold and neurotic. They're worried about their hair or their breath. They're scrambling for their clothes, trying to make sure that that person who's just slept with them doesn't see their naked body. It's a shame. Because actually, if we were calm and in a good state and happy and positive and just had a playful vibe with that person in the morning, they'd see us as much more confident and in control. So, in the morning, here's what you do. You give a little deadline. You say to him, I have to go soon. I have so much to do today. And then you give him a big cuddle. Because then when you're cuddling up to him, he's not thinking, is this person going to be here forever? Is this going to be awkward trying to figure out when I or she leaves? You've already put that marker in his mind. Then you can just enjoy the affection. And when you leave, give him a nice affectionate kiss. All of this, by the way, is presuming you actually like the guy. If this guy is someone you actually like, give him a nice affectionate kiss. It's what you should do after you've just slept with someone. And then leave and go about your busy day.
Step number 2, later that day, send a killer text. I'm going to read you this text, and then I'm going to tell you why it contains everything you need to say. I had a great time with you last night. Good luck with your meeting today. Then a little kissy face. Why does this do what you need it to do? First, you're saying, I had a great time with you last night. A small act of vulnerability and femininity. It's a moment where you can be candid with him. Too many people play it too cool for school, like they don't care, and in the process, they dehumanize the whole thing, the act of intimacy they've just had with a person. Then when you say, good luck in your meeting today with a little kiss, it's a moment where it's personal. You're saying something that relates to something you've said. If you know he's doing something fun today, you could say, have fun doing X, Y, Z today. Whatever it is, take a moment to acknowledge something that's going on in his day. The problem with the way so many people approach what they do after intimacy is they either get too vulnerable and too close to somebody where all of a sudden it's now like they expect the relationship to have moved 10 steps forward for having slept with them, or they go too casual to the point where it seems like it didn't mean anything to them that they slept together last night. We want to strike that balance of being somewhere in between the two. Just a little footnote to add here. The worst thing a person can do is text the person saying, oh my God, I can't believe we did that last night, or I was so drunk last night, or in any way making excuses for the fact that they slept together, or insinuating regret. If we slept with someone, Own it, especially if you like the person. Own it with no regrets, and they'll see you as more sexy and confident as a result. Step 3, do not settle for the Netflix and chill follow-up. Now, he may text you a couple of days later saying, hey, do you want to come over and watch a movie with me later? Now, that doesn't make him a bad guy, it just makes him a guy. He's going for the easy path, and he wants to have sex with you again. Who can blame him? He's only human. But you want more. So what do you say? You send him this message back. I'd love to see you again, but I really want to get to know you better. And I feel like I know where coming to your place ends up. Wink. How about we go for dinner? Now, the beauty of this message is it shows you want to see him again, but it resets the expectation. It takes away the entitlement. See, look, you two had sex. That doesn't mean that he's entitled to sex again with you, and it doesn't mean that you're entitled to more investment from him. But the distinction is, if he does want to see you again, it has to be for more than a physical connection. It has to be to build a real connection. That takes time and investment, and you wouldn't expect any less. If he doesn't want to put in that time and investment, that's okay. You have your answer about how much he likes you, but you won't accept less.
Look, truth is, most people who watch this channel want a relationship. Relationships? Yes. Dating? I don't want that, right? That's most people's approach to this, is please, anything but dating. I want a relationship though. So how do you manage your energy so that the dating process, the part that you need to do to get to a relationship, doesn't burn you out before you ever get one? Here are 5 ways to manage your energy in the process. Number 1, be wary of projecting your hopes and dreams onto the person you're on a date with. So many people start dating somebody, they get overexcited about that person, they get excited about the projection of them, not the real them. How could they? They barely know this person. And all of a sudden the stakes become very high because it becomes very important that this goes well, because after all, this is the right person. You're projecting your hopes, your dreams onto the person in front of you. They are a blank canvas on which to put everything you've always wanted in your love life. When the stakes go up like that, so does your adrenaline. Your energy starts to spike as you give more and more to this person, even if you don't show it to this person. Just the anxiety that comes with having made them so important burns energy. Remember this. Getting to know someone, knowing if they're truly right for you, is a slow process. It happens through the accretion of moments and experiences with this person that tell you bit by bit there's someone you could actually construct a relationship with. It's not something that happens overnight. So relax if you're early in the process right now. There's not really anything for you to lose. Number 2. The second way to manage your energy is to not give all of yourself immediately. We do this in one of 2 ways. We either give someone the absolute best of us, or we give someone the worst of us. Both are too much energy for where we're at in the process in early dating. Now, giving someone the worst of us would mean showing them all of our insecurities, talking about our angry feelings towards our ex about our last breakup, talking about the intimacy issues we have from something that's happened to us in our life. Essentially taking all of the difficult things in our life, or all of the struggles we're currently having, and placing them in front of the other person at an inappropriate stage. Now, giving the best of us is doing things for this person right now, showing parts of us, giving an amount of energy that is unearned. It could be clearing our schedule for someone who has really not earned it at this stage. It could be going out of our way to give them the greatest date ever, when really we should just be in a stage of getting to know them a little better. It could be that they told us of a certain baked good that they really like, and you show up with the box of them on the next date. Someone said to me once, Matthew, just because you can cook a 5-star gourmet meal, it doesn't mean you should do it for every person who knocks on the door of your house. Someone shouldn't get the best or the worst of you immediately. They should get the appropriate amount for the stage you're in. Do this and you'll have more energy to give to the right person and the right situation when it shows itself to be that. Number 3, don't give more than they are. Mirror the amount of investment you are getting from this person. Now, that doesn't mean that every once in a while you can't step out of the dynamic that you've created with this person to lead for a moment, to show a little bit more energy or investment, to see how they respond to that. That's okay. If no one ever did that, things would never move forward. So at some point, somebody's got to bravely step out of the current dynamic. However, when you do that, you have to actually watch to see if that is mirrored back at you. For example, if you texted someone in the morning saying, "Good morning, how are you?" and that's not something either of you are accustomed to doing for each other, wait and see how this person responds. The next day, don't send the same message, because otherwise you're now in a dynamic of doing that every day. You're continuing to invest every day without seeing if they're willing to do the same, if they ever take the lead. Let them come to you in equal amounts. Number 4, don't make them a priority before they've done the same for you. You have to start prioritizing each other equally. If someone doesn't talk to you for a couple of weeks and then out of nowhere wants to see you in 3 hours, "Hey, what are you doing this evening? Do you want to come and do this?" That's something you should be inherently suspicious of. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with accepting a spontaneous date. Nothing wrong at all. From someone who has a history and a record of trying with you, from someone who's been investing, then it just becomes something fun and romantic and spontaneous. But when someone who hasn't been trying all of a sudden texts us and wants us to make them a priority out of nowhere, this calls for something very different. It doesn't mean completely ignoring, because ignoring someone doesn't communicate our standards. What it means is responding with something that elegantly communicates that this isn't enough for you. Number 5, to not reach out anytime you're craving attention. We have to make a clear distinction anytime we're reaching out to someone. Am I reaching out right now in a way that's organic, because I really have something to say or share, some value to add to this person's day? Or am I reaching out simply because my ego, my insecurity is craving attention? If the answer is the latter, that's a moment to stop and divert your energy to something more productive in your day, something that's actually going to move forward with that energy. Because this relationship will not move forward with that energy. And we have to understand, and this is just understanding the ego, understanding our own self-esteem, that is a bottomless well. That need for attention will never be satiated. So even if you do get a response from that person right now in this moment, 3 hours from now, you'll be feeling the same thing again, because reassurance doesn't last. What we need to do in that moment is take that energy and pour it into something that's actually going to make our lives richer, that's going to make us stronger, and that's going to create a more confident us to bring back to the person that we want to attract. Don't give energy because you're craving attention. Give energy for real connection. Now, if you want to know how to give energy in a way that creates real connection, adds value, continues to build what you have with someone in a way that leads to a relationship, I talk about all of that in my program, How to Talk to Men. You don't even need to buy that program today, because I'm going to give you a free chapter just so you can try it out. You can go and download that chapter for free at getthefreechapter.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. I feel like this is really important. So much of our energy is wasted in dating, and we don't have unlimited energy. When we burn it on the wrong people, it can leave us utterly depleted. When people tell me I need to take a break, or when people tell me I'm just exhausted, that's real. That's real. We can get utterly burnt out. When you've just been dating someone for months or years, giving them your best energy, and they've just become a vacuum for the best parts of you, and they've not been replenishing the well for you, You can come out of that feeling completely taxed and exasperated and burnt out in a way that makes you not want to go anywhere near the dating process for a while. We have to protect ourselves from ever getting to that place. And that's the point of this video. Manage your energy, because you don't have unlimited energy. And when you meet the right person, or the person who has the potential to be the right person in the right relationship, we want to have our best energy to give at that point.
Do you want to change your life? Go to this video now, immediately.
The most attractive people in life are not the ones who are perfect. My essence was already doing the work over here. All I needed to do was show more of it. We are the greatest asset we'll ever own. We're also the only asset we'll always own. Hello everybody, this is Matthew Hussey. I was on TV recently when a woman in her 50s came to me and she said, I've been divorced for 4 years. Since then, I've been dating on Tinder, I've been on online dating sites, I've been trying to be proactive in my love life, I've been dating. She said, but you know, it seems like so many of the men I'm meeting are either guys who are younger and they're attracted to the older woman, but that's not necessarily gonna last, or they're my own age or older who are looking for the 25-year-old or the 30-year-old who's way beneath their age group and are having some sort of midlife crisis. Now, the thing I loved about this woman is that she said to me, it's not that I don't believe that the guys are out there who are in the right age group for me and have been through that midlife crisis and are looking for someone now that they can actually relate to and have a real relationship with. She said, I know they're out there. She said, but they're so hard to find. And she said, I have a 15-year-old son and that takes up a lot of my time. And I also am an entrepreneur. She works with people in social media. So she said, so that takes up my time as well. She said, so there's limited time. And I really understand this person, or at least I can understand how difficult it must be for this person to think about going out there and finding someone, as she put it, to spend the next 40 years with. You know, she saw herself as young and she said, I've got a lot of years left in my life. I want to find someone to spend it with, but how am I going to find that guy that I really want to spend the rest of my life with and wants to spend the rest of his life with me? Firstly, every single one of us has things that we want to do in our lives. Before we die, we have this kind of life list, right? You're young. At your age, you're in your 50s, you're young. You've got many, many years left yet. Out of the things that you still want to do, which of those could you bring forward and do today? And the reason I say that is because it's when we're out there doing things that we have the opportunity to be exposed to a different type of person than we're normally meeting. So yes, you can be on online dating sites, and that's fine, and I applaud that, and I think that's a great vehicle, but that doesn't mean it has to be your only vehicle. You could still be out there meeting a different type of man than you're meeting right now by doing some of the things that you want to do anyway. You know, have you always wanted to be part of a really interesting peer group of people intellectually that read certain books? Is there a book club you can go and join? Is there a traveling group you can be a part of that actually travels around and goes to see places together? Have you always wanted to be a better runner? And you've always said to yourself, you know what, I've always hated running, but I really have wanted to be good at it my whole life. I want to join a running group. What is it right now that you can be a part of that you want to do at some point in your life, but you've been putting off? Those things, even if you don't meet the right guy when you're there, you won't regret doing because they're things you wanted. They were on your life list anyway. So I'd encourage you to go and do those. I know that you don't have time to go and take up 50 new things when you've got a son and when you've got things going on in your life, when you're working hard to pay the bills. I know you don't have time for all of that, but you do have time for the things you wanted to do in your life anyway. And those are the things you need to start bringing forward because they'll bring you into contact with new people. The second piece of advice is to socialize the activities that you're already doing. If right now you go to the gym and you work out with your headphones in and you're on your own in your solitary workout, maybe you need to join a class where you're doing the same thing or something similar, right? A little bit of compromise, never hurt anybody, but you're doing similar things in a group of people. There's guys there, or maybe it's an all-women class. It doesn't matter. If you have new single friends, those can be just as helpful as meeting a hot guy in your class because they're going to be the ones banging on your door saying, let's go out next week. So meeting new people in ways that you would normally be spending time on your own. Get creative on doing the most social version of whatever you do in your life anyway. People so often think that meeting the right guy is something that has to take away from everything else in your life. Like they're mutually exclusive goals. I'm either doing all of the things I actually want to do in my life, or I'm out there doing a bunch of shit I don't want to do to meet the right guy. Doesn't have to be that way. My view on it is this: spend your life actively doing the things that you really want to do. But if you're looking to meet someone, do the most sociable version of the things you're going to do anyway, and start ticking off some of the things that are on your life list that you know, maybe you were saying to yourself you're going to do in 5 years or 10 years, start doing some of them today, because if they get you out there and get you meeting people, they're going to be killing two birds with one stone. You're living your life the way you always wanted to live it, and you're bringing yourself into contact with new and interesting people. This is an exciting time in your life for you. Don't give in to the excuses that everyone feeds you. Instead, go out there and live the life you want to live and get proactive about meeting the type of men you want to meet. So I love that you're here watching. I love that you're the proactive type of woman that actually wants to do something in her love life, whatever age you're at. I know you wouldn't even be watching this right now if you weren't that type of person. And if you want more of my help with this, because I come here every week on YouTube and give you lots of different ideas, but if you want a specific approach to getting out there and talking to guys and starting to build real relationships with new types of guys, go here. I have programs for this. We'll link it up right here. Click through and check it out for yourself. Otherwise, I will see you in next week's video. Thank you so much, everyone.
You've heard me talk before, I'm sure, about the two types of people in life, the waiters and the creators. People who wait around for things to happen and people who go out and create them. Well, there's also a third type of person, people who destroy. So there's a guy I've been following for a while. His name's George Watsky. He became somewhat famous for a viral video that he did where he was rapping very fast. And it exploded his career to an extent where he started creating rap videos, he started touring, stage poetry, all sorts of creative endeavors, and really became a big YouTube name. Now, this guy was in the news recently because part of his act was he would crowd surf by jumping off of larger or taller and taller objects, sometimes the stage, sometimes a balcony. In this particular show, he jumped off of a very high lighting rig to try and crowd surf, and ended up injuring two people, one of them a woman who broke her arm. You can imagine the reaction of the newspapers and the magazines who had a field day talking about this idiot rapper who jumped off of a lighting rig and injured two people. What I saw next was him having written an apology where he basically said, I am a f***ing idiot. I am ashamed of myself, and I shouldn't have done it. And, you know, he speaks of how he was waiting in the hospital for 6 hours with the people that were injured, and how he'll never do it again, and feels incredibly sorry for what's happened. But of course, what happens next is you still get the huge number of comments after that, talking shit, berating the guy, abusing the guy, saying all sorts of nasty things to him. What actually I find more sickening than the newspapers, whose job it is to do things like that, although even that's questionable, but at least they pass it off as their job. I get sick of the way that then indoctrinates people in general. You can go on any newspaper site and see the comments of hundreds or even thousands of people commenting on stories just like this. You can go on Facebook and see the way people react in their Facebook profiles. I'm always in favor of people disagreeing with me, for example. I'm always in favor of people giving a lesson or an idea that conflicts with mine. That in itself can be constructive, that can be creative, that can encourage debate, which I think is an amazing thing and something that we should all thrive on. But that's very different from what people do. The way people do it is not designed to be productive. The way people do it is designed to be sinister. Its intent is to be malicious. The important question, I think the interesting question, is why people do that. Why is it that we live in a culture where people have to take that 5 minutes or that 10 minutes or that 20 minutes out of their day to go and maliciously abuse someone else, to tell them why they're a f***ing idiot, even though they've heard it 20 times for that thing they just did, or 1,000 times? Why is it that people feel it necessary to go and do that and be sinister in that way? And the obvious answer is because they're lacking something in their own lives. Those same people that do that, by the very definition, have to be finding time for things other than productive endeavors. You think every one of those commenters doesn't have something they want to do in their life, something they want to build or create that they haven't got the courage to do, maybe they haven't got the drive to do, maybe they haven't got the strategy, maybe they keep making excuses themselves about why they can't do it. You know, you think those commenters don't have their own insecurities that they like to mask by focusing on someone else. The point is, those people could be doing something really productive with those 5 minutes, and they're not, because they'd rather focus on what I call avoidance activity. You know, how do I avoid doing the thing that I know will benefit my life and the lives of others around me by doing something that is just avoidance activity? This is just a distraction. It would be easy for me to make this a big you video to people that write that stuff. I would rather not. And the reason is, I almost want to speak to those people. There is a reason why, obviously, you took the 5 minutes to say something like that. And didn't choose that 5 minutes to do something that was actually important to your life. How about this? Instead of talking to someone you don't know and saying something malicious towards them, how about taking the same 5 minutes you would have taken to do that and take it to send a loving text to someone that you do know? People find ways of saying that they don't have time to do things in their life. I don't have time to text someone and tell everyone I know that I love them. I don't have time to see that friend. I don't have time to get done that piece of work. I don't have time to start that new project. And yet those same people will find time to go after someone, to anathematize someone who they don't even know. There are people who wait and there are people who create in life. The people that I'm talking about don't fall into either one of those categories in a way, because at least the waiters, there's a passive nature to waiting. You know, you can sit around and not do anything, and you can be accused of not bringing the world your gift and not going out and influencing the world for good and creating things. You can be accused of that, but there is something worse, and that's people who don't create, they don't wait, they destroy. If watching this video there's one person that normally would take that 5 minutes out to write something unconstructive and will take that 5 minutes to go and spread more love to someone in their lives, send a message, make a phone call, create something, then this video will have at least done something. So that's it. I will see you soon, my friends. Take care.
Today's video is going to be a really, really special one. A dear friend of mine, David Kessler, made a guest appearance on my live retreat in Florida this year, and he blew people away. David Kessler is the world's foremost expert on grief, and the stuff he talked about in this session, it should be required listening for everybody who wants to overcome pain in life, heal from past grief, and move on to a happier life. David changed my life. We did a session together that wasn't supposed to be a session. I was supposed to be interviewing him, and in the middle of the interview, what he was saying just, I mean, it broke through any defenses I had professionally, and it allowed me to release some things that I'd been holding on to. So he just has that ability to break through. See if this does that for you. I think it will. I'm so excited for you to watch this. This is David Kessler.
I want to start on what may seem, after so many years of doing this for you, David, like a painfully simple question, but why is it important that we grieve? You know, I know that everyone would have, you know, everyone in this room would have some kind of bumper sticker answer to that, a cliched answer to that. And yet, so many of us avoid grieving because we don't want to open that door, whether we're grieving a person that is no longer here, whether we're grieving a person that is still here, whether we're grieving a life that was lost, a job that was lost, a future that was lost, a family that we never had and lost the opportunity to have. We all have things. No one in this room hasn't been touched by grief, and yet so many of us spend our lives avoiding it. And one of the things, David, that we've been talking about this week is that with anything that is difficult to do, if we don't have a big enough why for doing it, we're not going to do it. Logic isn't going to get us there. We need a deeper reason that moves us to do it. So my hope with this question is that rather than everyone just going, yes, I know it's important to grieve, everyone truly connects to the deeper why of why does life get better? How do we get helped if
we actually choose to do the difficult work of grieving.
Okay. I'll give you the bumper sticker. And the bumper sticker is true, and then I'll go for a deeper answer. But the truth is, those who grieve well, live well. Those who grieve well, live well. Matt told you a little bit about my life. I want to also just say, not only did I have to say goodbye to my mother, and by the way, before I go into this, I want to just mention triggers. I call them activators. They're those intense reactions. Our norm is if we are triggered, we often run. We want to protect ourselves. We want to step out of the room. I've been triggered. Let me walk out of the room. Because I might say something that activates you, that triggers you. I want to invite you to consider your triggers for grief, for trauma, for old wounds, whatever they may be for. I want you to consider them a map of where your pain is and a map to your healing. And so we all inherently know how to run out of the room if we get triggered. But I want to invite you to try to stay present and get curious. It's so hard to do. I do this myself. When I go into a wound, I try to stop myself and go, ooh, I'm in it. I don't always get a chance to be this deep in it with a pause. Let me pause and be curious about this pain I'm in. So when we think about why do this, one of the other things I think about is I've done many groups like this, and you come to a hotel, and I remember one time coming to a hotel and having my meeting room full of people, and next door was the realtors, and down the hall was the nurses, and around the corner was the Kiwanis Club and all that. At the end of the day, the staff came by as we were wrapping up, and they said, "What were you talking about in here?" And I said, "Why do you ask?" And they said, "Because your group was laughing the most."
Wow.
And I said, "Grief." And they said, "What kind?" And I said, "The kind you have when there's a change you didn't want to happen." And they couldn't understand it. But here's the thing. That group cried deeper and laughed heartier. Loss and grief and healing expands our bandwidth. I ran into in my neighborhood a woman who worked with me years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And we're just walking. I'm walking my dog, and I ran into her. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I've been following your career. I did it." I'm like, "I'm a neighbor." And she said, "I'd love to be friends with you, but it would just be too depressing." And I said, and I actually thought this, I don't know that I said it, but I thought, you'd be surprised if you were with me. I think I'm one of the most fun-loving people in the world. I mean, I love joy. I love happiness. And I appreciate it and how fleeting it can be and how precious it is. And I have been through, I can remember in my childhood, we talk about the death and the shooting and all that of my mother. But before that, my son obviously, but before that, I grew up with parents who had wonderful hearts. I can say that because I knew their hearts. But my father had such unattended rage. And I remember him coming in and being after me and running into the kitchen, terrified. And I remember pulling out this drawer from the cabinets so that he couldn't open the door, and him pushing the door, and all the cabinets in the kitchen came down. That was his rage. And I remember my mother, who had unmedicated, we would call it bipolar now. And with all that going on, I also ended up being sexually abused. So I have been a buffet of things. And, even with my own mother dying in that hospital when there was the shooting outside, a small note, my parents had me in the room when they had, and remember, this is a husband and wife is dying, they had a monogamy discussion. Note to self, never have a monogamy discussion around kids. Not a good idea. Talk about screwing up relationships for a really long time. So I came out of this with a lot of abandonment issues, trust issues, abuse, so much. And one of the things, I have trained therapists for years, and they have always showed up and told me how they got into this work, or their helpers or coaches, because of what they've been through. And they were always evidence for me that healing is possible. And if I can hope for anything today, with me sitting with you, that I can be evidence that no matter what you've been through, and I'm sure it has just been brutal at times, that I can be evidence that you can find healing too. So, why? To live fully, to enjoy this life we've been given in spite of the wounds of others.
I love the line that you said, grief is a change you didn't want to happen.
Yes.
And how diverse of an umbrella, how wide of an umbrella that is for so many different experiences.
Yeah, we think it's about death, and of course it is, but it's also about the parent you didn't have, the childhood you should have had, the relationships, all of those things, just neglect. There's a million grief and losses in the world.
So we talked about why. How? How can we grieve?
What we run from pursues us, and what we face transforms us. What we run from pursues us, and what we face transforms us. Now, here's the thing people probably outside of these rooms don't understand. People will go, oh, they've been through loss, they've been through grief, they've touched the pain, they touched the hot stove. For a lot of you, the hot stove fell on you. You didn't touch it, it fell on you. And so part of this is being with it. Now, here's the thing. It is as simple and as complicated as feeling it. We can't heal what we don't feel. And one of the simple things to think about is we're one of the first generations that has feelings on feelings. Right? Oh my gosh, I'm so angry, but angry is inappropriate. I shouldn't feel anger. Let me toss it behind me, half felt. Oh, I'm so sad. Oh no, but someone else has it worse than me. And what about everything that's happening in the world? I mean, mine is nothing. I minimize it. I toss it behind me. We have all these half-felt feelings behind us, and we never feel them. And what happens? People always say, David, you don't understand. If I started crying, I would never stop. And I tell them, I have sat with thousands of people, and they have all stopped crying. They may cry again someday. I would imagine they would if they're human. But they all stopped. You know, one of the things our wounds of our childhood does is when we're in pain, it whispers to us, you might be in this pain forever. And you're like, crap. And that's not true. No feeling is final. No feeling you have is final. Every feeling is going to change. So it's about being present and feeling it.
how do we create moments for that? Do we wait for them? And when they strike, not run away? And what does not running away practically look like? Or do we proactively pursue those moments?
You have to do none of that. What's in front of you is your healing. Let me give you an example. We're judgment machines. We're always judging. What if I walked into this room and I went, oh my gosh, I got to find an audience for my healing. I need this specific, oh, there you all are. Not the right audience. You're not the right audience for me. What would happen, even if I thought that subtly, so subtly I thought that, you know what would happen? You would feel it. You would feel on some level, David doesn't feel right about being with us. And it would bring a disconnection to us. How do I know you're the right audience today? Because you're here. Because you're in front of me. You're the ones that showed up to dance today. You're exactly the right person. You're exactly the right audience for my healing. Matt's exactly the right person for my healing. You know, I remember that day we talked and on that walk, and you said something about, I feel like there's something here, like, we're going to be friends. And I said, it can't work one way. I can't be here for your healing without him being here for mine too. And that's true with every single situation. Every single person is our healer, is our teacher. Doesn't mean you like them, doesn't mean you approve of what they do or how they treat you, but they're for your healing. Every situation is a clue. So the question becomes, here I am today. What's up for me? What's up for me today?
For people who relate to feeling something and then they almost shut it down. We're so used to that, right?
Correct.
We start crying and we wipe away the tears and we say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And we kind of immediately lock it up again. We snap ourselves out of it.
Right.
And for some people, they may not even get there. There'll be people in this room who will say, I just feel completely numb. Like, how do I access it when I just feel numb? I feel so disconnected. So perhaps that's a two-parter, but what can people do who feel like something comes up for them, but there's almost an instinctive and reflexive shutting down?
Because you needed to. Because you needed to protect yourself in the past, and you're trying to protect yourself in the moment. We talk about, I'm being triggered. Your mind actually isn't triggered. Your mind is predictive. Your mind is predictive. It's this amazing computer that's trying to predict the next moment to keep you safe. And what does it have to rely on? The experience of the past. So it takes the past to predict the future. Warning, warning. And we see danger when there's not danger. So to recognize, that's the protective part in me trying to run from this. That's the part of me that's just trying to take care of me. Here's the thing, I always tell people like, we're so judging ourselves. And they go, I'm not judging myself. We are judging ourselves. But I won't even explain that because we all know we do. But this work isn't self-help. This work is self-acceptance. When Matt says, well, what if they're feeling numb? To go, all right, I'm feeling numb. Numb's good. It's okay to be numb today. Because here's the thing, when we accept where we are, it magically changes. When we fight where we are, it sticks with us.
Yeah, because there's always been moments on a retreat where I know certain people feel there is a judgment that says, I'm not feeling what I am supposed to be feeling right now. You know, I can see other people around me getting emotional. I can see that just resonated with everybody. But for me, I don't feel anything. And then they go into a story of, therefore, I must be broken.
But who's going to do you if not you? I mean, I get she's doing this and she's doing, but I got to be me. I'm not supposed to do them. I got to be me. Oh, look how much they're crying. Okay, look how much I'm not crying. I'm doing me perfectly. I am doing me perfectly. Here's one more thing I want to say about that. People say to me so many times, David, you don't understand. I'm so good at my work, but I'm so screwed up in relationships. Anyone ever thought that? Yeah, right? So, most of us, you are doing relationships 100% correctly. Like if I could grade all of you, and you shouldn't be asking me for a grade, but if you wanted a grade, I would give you all an A+. You are doing relationships exactly right. Exactly the way you were taught. You are doing it by the imprint you were given. You're following the imprint. The work and the imprint has the loss, has the abuse, has the grief, has all of it in it. How do we go past the imprint to come into this moment and just show up? That's where the new relationship begins.
Isn't David brilliant? I remember the first time I sat with David, I knew instantly, wow, this person has a gift. And it's one thing to listen to it, it's another thing to work through the stages that David talks about, to work through the things that he's saying. If this resonated with you and you want to apply what David is talking about on a practical level to work through something in your life, David has a brand new workbook out called Finding Meaning, the 6th stage of grief. It is a practical workbook that you can go through to actually apply what he is teaching. So go check it out. I'm going to leave a link. Grab a copy for you. Grab a copy for anyone in your friend group or your family that you know could also benefit from this. And let me know in the comments what you thought of this session. It was very, very special for me and for the people inside that room. I hope it was for you too. I can't wait to read your comments, and I'm excited to know the results you get from going through the workbook. Be well. Thank you to David, my friend. I so appreciate you doing this. And thank you to all of you for watching. Be well and love life.
Good day, everybody. This is Matthew Hussey with Love Life. We have a caller on the line today. I believe that caller's name is Carlene. Carlene, are you present, my love?
Yeah, I just have a quick question because, I've been playing hard to get for so long and it's not working out for me. And I've been single for 3 years and finally I've met this guy that I really like. So we had a date last Saturday, but I think I did it the wrong way. We made out, and I'm just like worried, how am I going to maintain the interest level after that? Because I felt like after that, the interest level went down. So how am I going to just...
What do you normally do when you play hard to get? When you say you've been playing hard to get for a long time, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't text them. I mean, if they don't text me, I don't text them. And usually if they get started to feel physical or like ask for a kiss, I told them no. But this one is like right off the bat, like we did it, like we kissed, we hugged, I slept like I stayed the night with him, but nothing happens. But it's just like I'm just worried that he's getting a wrong impression of me.
How, Colleen, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
29.
29. So, do you think that not kissing a guy or saying no when they try to be more physical with you is the way to get guys to like you?
No.
Why not?
Because I guess, like, I mean, I'm sending a wrong signal to them that
Yeah.
I don't like them.
Okay, so it could be confusing in that way. It could mean, well, she doesn't like me or she doesn't find me sexually attractive. That, by the way, doesn't mean you should say yes every time. But there is, of course, a moment where it's fun to say yes, right?
Yeah.
Because you...
I try to... It's nice.
It's nice, of course, because you're going out with someone because you like them too. So there is a time when it feels both timely, appropriate, and fun to say yes. What I'm thinking of is, why is it that you've got this rule in your head that means if I kiss him on the first date, he won't be interested anymore?
Yes, because like I felt like I let my guard down. Too comfortable right away, and
Yep.
I don't want him to feel that I'm easy. I want him to see me in a serious relation type of potential.
But does kissing a guy on a first date mean you're easy?
I'm not sure. Maybe.
See, to me, here's how I define easy. Easy is I will always break my standards in order to please somebody else. Whatever they want, whenever they want it, they can have it on their terms, because I don't want to be confrontational, I don't want to be difficult, and I don't want to say no to somebody. To me, that's easy. You kissing someone because you feel like kissing them doesn't make you easy. Now, this is a really important distinction to understand, because if on the next date you didn't feel like kissing him, you wouldn't have to.
Gotcha. But
So,
how am I going to maintain? Because after that, or on our text messages, I think the interest level, he's not that aggressive enough. He changed. So,
well,
I'm just a little bit worried that
yes, but
it's shifted.
Here's what you have to be careful of, Carlene, because you're in danger right now of creating a rule around something that's not reality. See, what you're saying is, right now, he's not being as aggressive in terms of coming after me. But you're also saying that's because I kissed him. And I'm going to tell you that those two things don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. You're creating a rule that supports your theory that you already have, which is I need to play ultra hard to get and always reject a guy's advances. And now that I didn't reject a guy's advances, he doesn't like me anymore. So I should definitely go back to rejecting all of their advances. Well, that's just a rule that you've made up in your head. Guys sometimes lose interest. Guys sometimes decide to text you less or call you less. That's just what happens. That happens to people all the time, regardless of what exactly they do. It can happen to any of us. The fact that you kissed him doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that. Now, you know that at any point you can go on a date with this guy again and you can put on the brakes, or you slow things down if you want to. Or you could just say, you know what? Kissing him is no big deal. I kissed a guy. It's no big deal. Like, I didn't say to him, right, I'm now open for business 24 hours a day. Anytime you want me, come get me. You kissed him because because you're a woman and you were out on a date and maybe he was looking hot and you thought, why not? This will be fun. So don't suck the fun out of it by suddenly saying, well, I definitely shouldn't have kissed him. That's how I ruined it. I don't believe that. I don't say it's good advice to always sleep with a guy on a first date. But the reality is many relationships, long-term relationships and marriages started from a first date when they slept together.
Wow.
So it's not true that, if you sleep with a guy on a first date, you're going to ruin it. Of course, that's not true. That's a mass generalization. By the way, there are many situations where a guy goes on a date with a woman, sleeps with her, has such a great time, is really attracted and says, I must have her again. I must call her again. And maybe she slows it down a bit. Maybe she says, you know what, I realized we moved a bit quickly because we're so hot and into each other, and I just wanted to, but we need to slow things down a bit because I know that I need a bit more, meaning to this. If we're going to be that intimate with each other, I need to know that we're kind of going somewhere. You don't think that woman seems just as high value, doesn't she?
Yeah, so I need to say to him that, I want to slow things down a little bit.
No, no. That's not what you need to say. That's what you could say. That's what you could say if you wanted to slow things down. If you felt like you've moved too fast and you don't want to, then you can always say to a guy, like, maybe we moved a little fast in the beginning. Perhaps we should slow things down. But I'm not telling you have to slow things down. I'm not telling you did anything wrong. Kissing a guy is not a bad thing. It's okay. So I don't want you to create a false reality where kissing a guy on a first date is some big thing, right? People do this on dates all the time. And it's fun, and it's not a big deal, and it doesn't make you easy. It makes you a sexual person, and that's absolutely normal. So don't overthink this issue. The fact is, it sounds like there's a guy right now who's not texting you as much as you'd want, or not chasing you as aggressively as you'd want, and that's a separate issue. You can just, by the way, we assume it's a separate issue. It might be because in his head, he was like, oh, I've kissed her now, I don't want any more. I doubt very much that's true. The point is right now he's not texting you in the way that you want. Deal with that issue. Don't link it automatically to something it's not linked to. Instead, just say, okay, he's not texting me as much as I want. Firstly, that's not all that attractive. If a guy's into me, that's really attractive. If he's not really into me, that's not all that attractive. So the next time he does want to get together, you might get together with him, but you might get together on your terms. You might step away a little bit. You might say, you know what, you have to come to my part of town. You have to pick me up or whatever. You might say something that allows him to show his investment, because right now he's not showing his investment.
That's true.
And it might be that when you go on a date with him next time and he goes to kiss you, it might be that you say to him, you know what, I do want to kiss you, but maybe we should slow it down a bit because I didn't, since last time, I didn't really feel that you were as interested as maybe I thought you were. And let him know that it's not that you don't want to kiss him. Listen, I like kissing you, but I tend to, if I'm kissing someone, it's because I feel like I like them and I want to see them again, but I didn't really feel that from you. And let him then work his way back to it and say, no, of course I wanted to see you and blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean you have to go home with him, right? That might mean, okay, maybe at the end of this date we kiss again, but I see if he improves in his communication. But then you can take it step by step. So can you see how you can still slow it down afterwards? You don't have to make up some rule like, oh, I've done this now. I've crossed a line that I can never go back from.
Yeah, because here's what happened. Because after that, the next day, he texted me, and I told him on the text, "Thanks for the amazing night. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to speak with you soon, and to know you more." And then he did not respond the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So my friends was telling me, "Oh, you just make him feel he's a big guy or something," and I felt like I'm just beating myself up. Oh, did I say that one? And then the next day he texted. So I'm like, okay, did I just push the envelope? And
what did he text you the next day?
He said oh yeah, it was an amazing night. I really enjoyed last Saturday, and good food. Although you're late, and that's it. It's just a simple response, and I'm just trying to decode it, and I just have no idea what does it mean.
I think, Colleen, you're an overanalyzer.
Yeah, I am.
You're analyzing way too much. Look, kissing on a first date can be really hot. Being with someone who overanalyzes your every move is not. So
what should I do? Just don't stress myself out thinking all the situation?
Yes, stop stressing yourself out. Stop reading into everything. Life's too short.
I know.
Were you going to get married and read into everything your husband does all the time, every second of the day?
No.
No, because you're going to go grey and die 30 years early from stress. You have to stop analyzing. Nothing is that important. Nothing is that important. What you do with your time and your life and your energy is important. How you stick to your principles in life, how you live with integrity, how you give to the world what you want to give to the world, that's important. Analyzing someone else's every move that you can't control is not important. And ultimately, you're always going to be able to look at the average of someone's actions and say, what kind of person is this? Is this someone I really want to be around? You're always going to be able to do that on the average of someone's actions, but do it on the average of someone's actions. Don't be looking at every little action they take, because if you look at every little action, you're screwed. If tonight they don't text you back because they fell asleep earlier than you, what are you going to do? At midnight, you're going to say, oh my God, they didn't text me back. They must not like me as much as they did 5 hours ago.
That's so true. That's so me.
Right? No, maybe they fell asleep. Maybe they got caught up watching House of Cards. Maybe they weren't checking their phone. Maybe it was on silent in the next room. Maybe they're just not texting every 5 minutes, which, by the way, is sometimes a good sign of how interesting someone is. Zoom out, because right now you're zoomed all the way in. Zoom out and see it see it with some perspective. Get a bird's eye view on the situation and say, okay, I'm going to see the average of this guy's actions. On average, does it seem like he's into me? If yes, great. If no, fine. The next time he asks me out, maybe I'm going to tread a little carefully. Maybe I'm going to let him know that he doesn't seem to, try that hard. He doesn't show it all that much. Maybe I'm going to let him know, not in a needy way, but in a high value way, because if he's trying to sleep with me, maybe I'm going to express my concern that, you know what, I find you hot and attractive, but honestly, I don't sleep with people unless I'm really sure that there's a mutual connection. And I don't know if I feel that from you. But that's you taking control. That's not you analyzing every situation and going back to your friends and having a little tribunal about what a text message means every time he sends it. I don't want this. Not from you, Carlene, all right?
Yes, okay.
All right, so I want you to relax, take a deep breath, zoom out, focus on what's important in life, i.e. you, and not every little tiny action that this other human being is taking. And know that you're always in control. You never give over control, not if you don't want to. You're in control.
Gotcha.
You decide. You slow it down. You put you step on the gas when you want, and you always have the ability to reclaim any standard you want at any time. So relax and go and have fun.
Okay,
please.
I'll just relax and just let my brain a little bit stop for a while.
Yeah, give your brain a little rest. Or you know what? Or go and use that brain for something really important, like read a book or listen to a podcast. Use that energy for something that's actually going to better you instead of something that's going to rot your brain. Imagine overanalyzing is like watching the Kardashians. It's just rotting your brain.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God.
All right, Carlene, go have fun. I'll speak to you soon, all right?
Thank you, Matthew.
Take
It's
care.
very enlightening to speak with you.
It's been fun. I'll speak to you soon. And thank you guys for listening to Love Life. So appreciate you being on the line. I know we took a little more time over this one, but I love actually really overanalyzing. I love analyzing the situations and getting into it with people and actually finding out, what are the issues. And it's interesting for Carlene to take it through to that logical conclusion that forgetting this guy, maybe it is more about how much she's analyzing in general. But thank you for listening, guys. Come join me on Facebook for the discussion. Facebook.com/Coach Matthew Hussey. I'm also on Twitter at Matthew Hussey. And by the way, you can call in and ask a question on Love Life anytime you want. 844-204-6288. We'll speak soon. Bye-bye. Hi guys, it's Matthew here. Look, a lot of women come to me asking, how do I deal with it if I feel like I've slept with a guy too soon? I like the guy, I feel like I moved a little too quickly, how do I rein it in? Well, firstly,
never regret your decision to sleep with someone if you've already done it. If you've done it, own it. You probably did it because you were attracted to someone or because you thought it would be a good time. It probably was a good time. If you like him, don't feel regret for it. Own it and enjoy the fact, celebrate the fact that you had a good time. Many women think that because you somehow slept with him too soon in the timeline, that he's going to lose respect for you. Now that's true of some guys, but it's not true of all guys. The reality is, what really makes a guy lose respect is if A, he feels like you broke your standards, and B, if you don't really own your actions, if you feel like you regret it and it was a mistake, and then when you come to him you say, oh, I really shouldn't have slept with you that quickly, I wish I hadn't, then he loses respect because he's like, oh, why isn't she just owning it? So is there something you can say in this situation, if you have slept with a guy too soon, to rein it in and slow it down? Yes, let's take a common scenario. If a guy has already slept with you, there's a very good chance that the next time you go out, you go to the movies, you go to a bar, whatever, he's going to try and take you home at the end of the night. And in his mind, that will probably be a natural thing to do. It's not like it's not a negative thing on him. It's just a natural thing to do. If you've already done that with someone, it seems a lot easier the next time and a lot more natural to just go in that direction. At that point, when he says, do you want to come back? That's your time to assert your new standard with him. So you can say to him, you know what, I'm really tempted, but the truth is, it wouldn't really be me if I carried on being intimate with someone and I didn't know where it was going. I had an amazing time with you when we did it, because you're insanely attractive and I have a great connection with you, and that's why I did it in the first place, even though that probably wasn't my style. Why don't we slow it down a little bit and see where this goes, and maybe it will arrive back there, but more naturally, because it wouldn't really be me to keep moving this quickly without knowing where it's going. That's a really lovely, endearing thing to say to someone, which both celebrates what you did, because you can still admit, like, it was a lot of fun when we did that. You could say, you and I have crazy sexual chemistry. So it was so much fun. It wouldn't be me to keep moving that fast without knowing where this is going. That's so sexy, and he'll have such respect for you because A, you owned your actions before. You didn't go into that place of regret where you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done it, and you're playing the violin for yourself. No one thinks that's attractive. Instead, you're owning your actions, but at the same time, you're stating your standard, which is that you can't continue to do this without having some sort of meaning in the relationship or some sort of direction in the relationship. Not sleeping with a guy doesn't make him respect you, but showing that you have a standard that you're willing to stick to is a really sexy thing to a guy. And don't ever buy into this idea that, oh, I slept with him already, I ruined it. It doesn't work like that. You can literally assert a new standard any way you want in a relationship, and as long as you're strong enough to actually own it and stick with it, people will have to accept that new standard, and very often people gain a newfound respect for you because you decided that this is a standard I want to live by. So that's it, short and sweet this week. If you have someone that you've slept with and you think it's too soon and you want to rein it in, just try that line, and I'll be back with more tips next week. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. Interact with me, talk to me. And if you're not on our Facebook page, by the way, come join us there. I know many of you aren't on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Coach Matthew Hussey. We'll link it up under the video and also at the end of the video. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Are we on? This is my little snack bowl. This is like sort of like a scene out of A Beautiful Mind, isn't it, Jameson? Do you know what I mean? These are all little ways that I trigger thoughts for 40 hours of speaking over the next 5 days on my retreat. I'm going on a retreat in San Diego for a lovely group of ladies who have made it, and this is what I'm going to be talking to them about. We've been reading some comments, haven't we? We like to keep up to date with what the fans are saying, both the sane ones and the f***ing idiots. A few of you have nominated me for the Ice Bucket Challenge, I see. I don't know. I mean, I feel bad, but I don't know if I'm going to do it. We'll decide by the end of this video. Yeah? Basically, today I want to do a video about excuses. We were talking about doing this video for a while, weren't we, Jameson? About excuses. Both the valid ones and the invalid ones. That's what I'm getting all the time. People talk about reasons why they can't do things. Some complaining is fine. And as you go through life and do things, it's okay to be pissed off or frustrated. But I think you have to be like beating your head against a wall and really trying and failing in order to earn the right to get annoyed and make excuses. For years in Get the Guy, I have had women come to me with all manner of excuses why their love life isn't right. It's not that I'm okay when someone's really trying and they give me excuses, but I think at least you're trying. You've earned the right to be annoyed about certain things that are in your way. But when people aren't even trying, when they're just sitting on the sidelines and making excuses about why they're not making that thing happen, that's when it gets frustrating. Did I even tell you I wrote a poem about this years ago? See if I can find it. Here goes. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too tall, I'm too dumb. I'm not pretty, I'm divorced, I have kids, I'm no fun. I'm fat, I'm so fussy. Tell that guy, Matt Hussey, that I don't live in the right place. There's nobody here. These men are all morons. If they're not, then they're queer. I have this one guy friend that likes me. He's nice. But the men I really like, they're taken, unobtainable, or emotionally unavailable. They're super successful. They're out of my league. Well, I guess there is this one guy. But it's complicated. It's a long story. You wouldn't understand. We had this one perfect date. He was holding my hand. I went home, got excited, and waited for his text message to land. And they did for a time, until he stopped calling completely. I don't get it. We hit it off amazingly. My friends say he's not ready, that he's intimidated by me. It's impossible to be independent when men don't want strong. They want demure and reserved, who underneath wears a thong. Someone who's crazy and wild in the bedroom, but even though on the inside is a riot, on the outside he can tell just shh, you're so pretty when you're quiet. It's not hard to see why I'm single. In fact, I'm surprised I'm still straight, because men just aren't worth it. Their flaws are innate. You expect me to get proactive? Then tell your men to be men, because having balls is attractive. It's so easy for you to stand up there and preach about ideas and strategies and empowering beliefs. This advice, these techniques, they're so easy to say. But let me ask you a question. What makes you a love guru anyway? Jameson, what do you think of 2007 writer Matthew Hussey? Thank you for the feedback. Thorough, as always. I could sit here, and there are programs where I would sit there and go through every excuse and dissect why it doesn't have to be an excuse. We could talk about looks and how they're subjective and not objective, and how people continuously change their tastes as they get older. I could talk about age and how all of these women get to a certain age and they think that men don't want them anymore, and then they find a guy who does want a woman that age. They find someone who's super attractive. They found the real thing that was holding them back was the fact that they were negative about their age, that they carried it as baggage, as an excuse, and when the guy saw it was baggage for her, he started to back away and decided that it was too much for him as well. You could use kids as an excuse. I'm a single mum. Do guys really want a single mum? I could find plenty of guys that may say to themselves, I don't want to date a single mum. And then when they meet a single mum and get emotionally attached, all of a sudden it's a different story. The single mum also tells me that she has no time. I have no time. I've got kids. I've got places to go. I've got people I've got to look after. I've got to go to work. I've got to earn money. But then when I dissect her time hour by hour, day by day, I always find cracks of time that she can use to go out and meet somebody. And guess what? You might say I don't have time for a relationship, but you don't have time to flirt. You don't have time to date. That's crazy and it's bullshit and you know it. I'm not saying it's not harder for some people than others. I'm not saying that if you live in a town where it's population 9 people and 5 of them are your family, it's going to be as easy as if you live in New York. But guess what? People from New York are making their own excuses. They're saying there's too many people, that they don't know what to do with all of them, that all of these people are so transient, that they keep looking for the bigger, better deal, that they wish they lived in a town where it was more communal and it was more cozy and they could just settle down with somebody. Everybody has their excuses. Some people genuinely have it harder than others. Some people have difficulties. Some people have something that really does hold them back. But you have to decide whether the excuse is more important to you than the result. I always say, in love, you can have the excuse or you can have the guy, but you can't have both. So if there's a limitation, if there's something that makes it harder for you, I'm not talking about a Pollyanna approach where you decide, oh, well, I'm just going to get happy about this and understand that there's absolutely nothing wrong. No, sometimes there's things wrong. But sometimes those hurdles are the very things that train a muscle, that make you stronger, that develop you in other ways. When people go blind, they develop their other senses. You can develop the other parts of yourself, even if one part of yourself is difficult to get up to a certain level for you. What's your excuse? Is it true? Are you using it as too much of an excuse right now? Have you decided that this limitation is going to make you weaker instead of stronger? Because you can choose either path. I want you to write it down. I want you to analyze it. Be ruthless about it, no matter what is going on in your life. You have the strength, you have the power, you have the ability and the creativity to turn it into something that can actually be a gift in some form or another. This isn't me talking from some stupid self-help place, I promise you. This is one of the most practical techniques there is for turning the biggest difficulties in life into the biggest strengths and the things that can actually get you to where you want to go, because they build the strength to get there that other people don't have when it's easy for them all the time. So that's it for today. I know that many of you are watching this now waiting for me to do the ice bucket challenge. I'm good. And I know I talk about excuses, but I don't have time to do that in the next 24 hours. Jameson needs time to even edit the video. I mean, you should see how f***ing slow Jameson is. Look, it's about ALS. Right? This is a terrible disease. It needs more funding. We need to raise awareness for it. It has nothing to do with the ice. Not to mention, by the way, you may not live in LA, but I do. There's a water shortage here. We're in a drought. Look at how much ice I have. Look, what am I going to do with that? All right, you win. I'll do it. Here goes. Wait. Hang on, let's do it outside. I'm not doing it in here because it's going to go everywhere. All right, here we go. Let's do this. I am Matthew Hussey. This is the Ice Bucket Challenge. We don't normally do this sort of silly stuff on this channel. We're usually very serious. We don't like to do things in this gimmicky way, but I thought, why not for today? So here it is, Matthew Hussey, the Ice Bucket Challenge. Go. That's worse than I thought it would be. I really thought I'd be able to react how I wanted to react. Like, oh, shall I react angry? Shall I think it's funny? And then as soon as it hit me, I was like, just game over. Oh, can you do one more? Well, here we are, 2017. Welcome, my friends, to a new year. My favourite Christmas movie is A Christmas Carol. And it's my favourite because it's such a genuine story of change. You see this guy, Scrooge, who goes through a process over a night where spirits of past, present and future come to him and show him what it's cost him to be a certain way, what his life is like now, and what it's going to be in the future. And all of this creates this huge avalanche of emotion that makes him say, I have to change, I have to do something. Now, one of the things that's more unrealistic about that story is the image it creates of how easy it is to change.
Making the decision to change is not the easy part, but it's the part that can happen overnight. Because you only have to have something dramatic enough, something that causes you enough pain that makes you want to change in a night to get yourself to say, you know what, I can never be this way again. Or, you know what, I want to learn how to do that finally once and for all. Or I'm going to change my life in that way. But the actual process of changing is harder. If you're standing here right now saying, I want to change, I want a different result in my love life, let's get away from gimmicks like, I'm going to change this today and everything's going to be great. And let's start moving towards genuine transformation. This video is not about tricks, it's about transformation. I want you to make this year, 2017, your project. An amazing project where you decide there is a certain skill set, there is a certain competence that I want by the end of the year. Whether it's the ability to storytell, whether it's holding court, whether it's being able to work a room, whether it's being sexy or flirty, these are skill sets that I will have taken on. Not because I suddenly learned them all in a day, but because I have been practicing these every day. By the end of the year, when I sit here, a year from now, looking back, I'm going to be able to look back on all of the skill sets I now have. Why do I have to make this year a project in learning all of these skills? Well, firstly, I believe these skills are worth learning for their own sake. I don't think that we have to commit to learning all of these skills just to get a relationship. I think we do it because it's who we want to be, because these skills are useful to have. Secondly, we're not just doing them to have a relationship, we're doing them because they're useful in a relationship as well. You think storytelling's not relevant in a relationship? We're going to be telling stories to our partner for the rest of our lives. Marriage, I once heard it said, Steve, who said it? Marriage is a 50-year conversation. Who said that? David Brooks. Marriage is a 50-year conversation. We want to be good conversationalists. We need to be good conversationalists to have a 50-year conversation. We think flirting is just about finding someone. Oh, I don't want to have to learn all these flirting tips because, I just want to find someone and for it to happen naturally. Well, how does a relationship work if we can't flirt with our partner? Show me a couple that doesn't know how to flirt and I'll show you a really boring couple who have no tension between each other. But the skills that we need to maintain a relationship are the same as the skills we need to get into one. The skills we need to get into a relationship are the same as the skills we're going to need all the way through the relationship. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And while we're at it, fuck all those people who talk about be yourself. You don't need to do any of this stuff. Be yourself. They don't know what they're talking about either. You know how long it's taken me to learn how to be myself? Doing this is really scary. Today, put a camera on yourself and see how hard it is to be yourself. Put a camera on yourself and say, I'm going to upload this to YouTube today. And see how hard it is to be yourself. When we're under pressure, when we're scared, when we want the right outcome, is exactly when we stop being ourselves. Whether it's in a job interview, whether it's speaking to someone we find really attractive, whether it's public speaking, those are all situations where it's hard to be yourself. So being yourself just be yourself as a piece of advice, like it's easy to just fucking be yourself is ridiculous. Okay, it takes time and effort and hard work to be yourself. Of course we want to be ourselves. We want to be the best version of ourselves. What's important is that we get up this morning and we say, who do I want to be this year? 2017. Who do I want to be this year? So that should I find the relationship of my dreams, be it 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 3 months from now, when I get that relationship, I am somebody that I would be proud to be in that relationship for the rest of my life. In other words, I'm coming to my dream relationship as my best version of me, rather than going to it hoping that somebody else won't notice that I'm not the best version of me. Too salty for a first video of the year? I don't think so. I'm going to leave it there. But here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to make it your project this year to get good at this stuff. Don't make it like your week mission this week. Make it your project this year. Decide the things you want to go out and start doing more of, whether it's approaching guys more, whether it's being more flirtatious, whether it's not taking so much shit from everybody because you know you let people walk over you too much. Decide what you want and start getting competent at the skills you need. I'm going to put up a program of mine called How to Talk to Men. Jameson, let's throw it up right here. How to Talk to Men is a great program to get you started. It gives you a ton of things you can work on right now in your love life, and it gives you practical ways to do it. It's not some guy telling you to be yourself. It's someone actually giving you things you can do today to get better. That's what we're all about. And later this month, we'll be talking more about confidence, because today we're talking about competence. They're two sides of the same coin. We need both. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week. Welcome to 2017. I'm only getting like this because I want change for all of us this year. Trust me, I'm going to be just as hard on myself. I say this to you because I'm saying it to me. Let's do it together. We're a team. You know I love you guys. Let's make this an incredible year.
Do you think a relationship can work if two people have completely different morals or values?
Oh, I don't think so. I think that we can have different values that are synergistic.
Okay.
And then what happens is we kind of rub off on each other in a really lovely way. If you have someone who really values, I don't know, they're ambitious, and you have another person who's all about family, or is, you know, very connected to the people in their life that they love, and they put that first, then you actually can bring a lot to each other. Right? Now, that's not true if the person who's ambitious doesn't also have other values to accompany that, like kindness or teamwork, or there are certain things that can overcome a lot. Like, for example, the value of teamwork can overcome a lot of other different values. Because if I realize that there are certain things you value that are different to me, but I value your happiness, then I don't need to have all the same values as you. I just need to have a spirit of teamwork that says, I really care about your happiness. So I'm going to go out of my way to appreciate those values in you and help support them. A wildly different moral compass is a big problem. Like, if you ultimately have a completely different sense of right and wrong, if you have a completely different stance on lying or selfishness or kindness, or what's, you know, what a good moral code is around other people. If you've got someone who doesn't respect anyone's time, and you really do, you know, so they're always late to things and they're really disrespectful of other people in that way. And it's not that you can't have someone in a relationship who's more punctual than the other one, but if someone's lack of punctuality comes from a genuinely disrespectful place, and your punctuality comes from a very respectful place, that's going to be an issue. And you're always going to find that it's very hard to operate with a friend, with a partner, with a family member whose idea of what is right and wrong differs greatly from yours. Because it's like starting a board game where you have one set of rules and I have a different set of rules. We both started a game of Monopoly together, but in your rule book, you can pocket $100 bills, and if I don't see you, that's your money in the game.
Right.
That's your rule book. My rule book says we have to earn our money in the game. You can't just swipe money from the box that's not being used to win. If we're playing a different game, we're going to make each other really, really unhappy. So I do think that a great relationship starts with two people who have a very close set of rules that they're operating from as they start that game.